Sitting by the warm fire on a December day, I'm reminded of Christmas gifts. And I have a confession to make. I'm not the best gift giver. I'm an okay gift shopper. I find bargains. I go out on Black Friday. I get good deals. I find appropriate gifts that people appreciate, or at least that's what they tell me. But I'm not good at the giving of the gifts because, well, one thing, sometimes I hide the gifts to keep them secret, and then I forget where I hide them. It's happened on more than one occasion. The boys have gotten gifts we purchased for them the year before, but hey, it's like a bonus. Now it's an antique. And let's pray it wasn't perishable. But the other thing that I struggle with in gift giving is once I get the gift ready, I want to give it to the person. I don't want to wait. I just want them to have it. And that's, well, sort of that eternal 4-year-old. You know the one. He comes home from school the last day of Christmas, and he, before the break, and he brings a little bag and he sets it down and he says, "Mom, this is for you, but you can't open it till Christmas Day. You remember the picture that I had to take of me to school? It might be in the bag. Do you remember I said that we made stars out of popsicle sticks at school? It might be in the bag." And before long, the entire contents of the bag is shared. The mystery's gone. But I'm in good company. And not only with all the 4- and 5-year-olds in the world, but I'm also in good company because that's how God operates. You see, God, while he was not excited about the fall, he was excited for the rescue. He wanted so badly to have that relationship back that he couldn't wait to tell Adam and Eve. But there's a promise. There's one coming. And they longed to hear it. So many of God's people have longed to hear those promises of deliverance, and they waited and watched for the Messiah. And he unveiled prophecy after prophecy after prophecy, telling a little bit more and more and more about him, until finally we would recognize him when he came. But we didn't. There were even people that didn't want to know about him. They didn't want to hear the prophecy. One of the most famous probably comes from the book of Isaiah. Ahaz is given an opportunity at God's request for him to ask for a sign of deliverance, that he would be rescued and his people would be rescued from the hands of the enemy. And Ahaz refuses. He refuses to ask for a sign. He says in some very platitude-style voice, "I will not test the Lord my God." But of course it's not a test if God asks you to ask him for a sign. So the prophet shares words that for us ring sweet and kind and memorable this time of year, but probably in the day were harsh and spoken through gritted teeth. Listen to the words that the prophet spoke to Ahaz. Even when the Lord asked, but Ahaz refused. Then Isaiah said, "Hear now, you house of David. Is it not enough that you will try the patience of men? Will you now try the patience of God also? Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will be with child and will give birth to a son, and he will call him Emmanuel." Now my guess is this Advent, as we hear those words, or Christmas Eve as they're spoken, we'll hear them spoken with the tenderness and love of this side of the cross, looking back through the light of the manger. And we'll hear, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will be with child, and will give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel. What wonderful words. But don't forget all the other words he told us about him. That be of the house and the line of David. Oh, look, my fireplace got a message. He also tells us about his family. He tells us about his life. He tells us about his suffering. He tells us about his death. But he tells us about his resurrection also. I hope that this Christmas, as you open the gifts, find the ones you hid, that you remember that great gift that God was so anxious to tell us about, that through the centuries he kept dropping hints all along the way so that we wouldn't miss him. I hope you don't miss him this Christmas. I hope you see Emmanuel, God with us. Thanks for stopping in, and Merry Christmas. I'm getting a little warm. I think I need to move.